Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the Akim who are tuning to these videos. In this video, I wanted to read some parts in Job chapter 18. And when you're reading this chapter, the main points that we always go into is towards the end of it, because it speaks on the demise of Esau Edom when he's completely done away with. His remembrance is perished and he's chased out of the earth, meaning that in the kingdom of Yasharallah, when the Israelites are put back in the ruling seat of creation and the world and all of these people, there's not going to be a need for Esau Edom. So that first 1,000 years of rulership, where the nation of Israel is back down here, establishing true righteousness, he's going to be put in the most vigorous type of bondage, as a servitude, a slave, if you will. And he's going to ultimately build the foundations of the kingdom. And after those 1,000 years are spent, he's not going to enjoy the kingdom like how the rest of these heathen are. The rest of these heathens like Japhet, Moab, Ishmael, they're all going to have their consolation in the kingdom by being able to breathe and live in a world that benefits from the laws, statutes, and commandments. See, Esau Edom, when he had that opportunity, he was doing nothing but to kill, slay, and destroy the earth, the Aidan that we live in, polluting the world, the water, chopping down all these trees. He's ultimately not fit for creation. He just doesn't fit in it in the grand scheme of things. So right now we're like basically witnessing how not to rule a kingdom, because Esau Edom rules in wickedness. And so because of that, we know and understand that we shouldn't be envious of this devil. We know that his light right now is a false light, and it's going to be put out shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading this. This is Job chapter 18, and I wanted to start at verse 5. All right, it says, "Yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him." So Esau Edom basically is running off of time right now, short time. And as the Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, are remembering who they are in the land of their captivity, the Spirit is now dwelling with us. And therefore, Esau Edom can't do anything against us. I'm going to get a quick precept. This is in Proverbs. Proverbs 24 and 19. It says, "Fret not thyself because of evil men, neither be thou envious at the wicked. For there shall be no reward to the evil man. The candle of the wicked shall be put out." And so this is something that we're basically warning these people and setting our face against Mount Seir, telling them that their rulership is almost at an end. It's basically the writing on the wall, just like what happened in the book of Daniel, and we're prophesying these things to happen, for them to come to pass. And so the light of the wicked is definitely going to be put out. Well, you can see just how much sin ruins a society. So this place is going to be made an example, and specifically with those thermonuclear missiles, which you go into various chapters, especially here in Job and 18, it goes into that. See, all these prophets were speaking about that same destruction. So I'm going to read back in Job 18. And you can read all this here, but I just want to get to the point. So this is in jumping down to verse 14. It says, "His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors." And that's speaking about Yahweh Shai. He is the wrath of the Lamb and the face of the lion that is spoken about in the book of Revelation. all these Edomites and whatever nefarious plan that they're trying to establish. And the triumph of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. Like Esau Edom, in his mind, he really thinks that he's got this New World Order agenda sealed in the bag. But ultimately, the Spirit has made us stand up. And so that is going to be a wrench in his system. He's ultimately going to be in straits in the fullness of his sufficiency, which all the precepts I just quoted are in the book of Job also. So it just goes into his demise and how everything that he tries is not going to excel. He's going to be hindered in every step of the way. That's why we're not envious at the foolish, the wicked man, because we know and understand that this little consolation prize of him ruling right now is only but for a moment. So I'm going to continue on verse 15. It says, "It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation." And this right here is literal. You go into various chapters where all the prophets spoke about this same thing. And it's going into the wicked Esau Edom and how this prophecy of destruction and annihilation for one group of people is only spoken about for the Edomites. It's precept upon precept here. So you even had the Zondervan Bible. If you could find out, some of those prints spoke about that Esau Edom had no place in prophecy that pertains to good. They are ultimately going to be done away with. When the Zondervan Bible put that out, they had to redo that and do a reprint, because we were basically making videos on it and going into that topic that even Esau's high scholars spoke about that. So actually, let me read just one more precept. It's in this chapter, Job 18. Let me see. So in verse 7, it says, "The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down." And that's literally what we're seeing here. All the technical things that are happening with Esau Edom, he's being cursed, just like Pharaoh was being cursed. Every day, a specific thing happened to them where they were not able to counteract it. And the fact that his own counsel is coming up against him, Egyptian against Egyptian, Esau against an Edomite, that's basically prophecy coming to fruition. His own counsel casting him down. See, it's not just us, the Hebrew Israelites, that are speaking this truth. You even got a bunch of renegade Edomites making YouTube videos exposing the elites. So the difference between them and us is that we correlated with the scriptures. We speak in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, so that we're casting down these strongholds and bringing the obedience to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. That's really the difference between us and them. So I'm going to continue on reading this in Job 18 and jumping back down to verse 16. It says, "His roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the streets." Meaning he's not going to have a son, nephew, uncle, any male in the line of the Edomites. They're going to be able to pass on their family legacy. The whole nation is going to be uprooted to the point where it will not be able to come back. And you can imagine this in the kingdom. Time is not going to be an issue for us. We're just going to continue to live forever, indulging in mortality. And it's going to be eons from right now where I'm speaking to like in the distant future, where it's billions of years have passed, and like a person brings up an Edomite, someone might have to bring out the scrolls to remember these things, because it's going to be eons, a stark difference of when we had these Edomites ruling over us to where they're basically just a figment of our thoughts, that to the point where like I made that reference, that you'd have to bring out the ancient scrolls to even remember how they even look like. So like right here, verse 17, it says, "His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. And that right there is a beautiful moment. So like the fact that we don't have to deal with an Edomite, we don't have to pay taxes or worry about the things that we currently worry about in this Edomite ruled captivity. That's why we're not worried about them, or we're not envious of them, because like this right here is a great judgment that they're just gonna not have any memorial for them. So I'm gonna continue on. Verse 18, it says. So I'll just read from verse 17 again. It says, his remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. And so that's literally going to happen. It's basically just going to be done away with. There's not going to be an Edomite in the kingdom. His remembrance is going to be done away with, and he's just going to be cast out, chased out of the world. In verse 19, it says, he shall neither have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. And the lineage goes by the father. So like if you're a Hebrew Israelite male and you deal with a woman of a different nation, that child is going to be a Hebrew Israelite. The same applies for the other heathens. And so there's not going to be an Edomite male to continue on that family legacy. And this right here is biblical. It's prophetic because it hasn't happened yet. But we hope for and hasten that time where we're not going to remember a heathen or an Edomite. Continuing on, verse 20, it says, they that come after him shall be astonished at his day, as they that went before were affrighted. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him that knoweth not the Most High. And the fool has said in his heart that there is no God. That's literally Esau's MO. He's basically just rebellious, perverse, and profane. Profane means that he's outside of the temple. He is not a holy person. He's a crooked man. And like I was referencing, his only existence really is to show us what wickedness is. And once we're done with that and we have those bodies of immortality, we're not going to need a person to show us what wickedness is. So I'm going to read this in Psalms 34 and 16 and read these other precepts going into his destruction. But it says, the face of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. And that's ultimately, a broad statement, but specifically honing in on the Edomites and the rebellion that they have done for the Lord and his elect men and the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. For that, he's going to have that judgment where he's going to be done away with, cut off from remembrance. And, just to emphasize, because it's him that do evil, and he's literally the wicked man. He's the red man. All right, so I want to read this also in Isaiah 14 and verse 19. It says, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land, and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. Because not only are we going into like the hereditary of the Edomite, but we're also going into the reincarnation aspect, because those little baby Edomites, as they're speaking lies as soon as they're born, those are reincarnated Edomites. So you have to understand that like the sins of the father really applies onto them, because they're those that were in the 18th century going against Gad, designing the Gatling gun, literally bloodlust. And he did not hate blood, he pursued it. And so because of that, he's going to fall upon the sword that he's been utilizing. So I'm going to continue on. I'll read from verse 20 again. It says, thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Is literally the same stuff that I was just speaking about, or reading, I should say, in the book of Job, chapter 18. And this right here is very prophetic. This has to apply to somebody, and that somebody is the Edomites. Now, I'm just going to go into this right here in the book of Obadiah, and it is just one chapter, but it is very heavy on the prophecy that is going to be about Esau, Edom's demise. And so I'm just going to just jump right into it. This is in I'll read from verse 10, because it was referencing in Isaiah 14, is because of all the iniquity that he's done. He's destroyed the world, but not only that, is that he basically was going against our people, the so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. So this right here, verse 10 in the book of Obadiah, it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So just because he touched the apple of the Most High's eye, which is the nation of Israel, he's going to taste of this judgment. And that's literally the price he has to pay for what he did. And also, not to mention that he is forwarding that affliction. See, he could easily, just like Pharaoh, let the Israelites go. But he's not doing that because his heart is hardened. The Heavenly Father is desiring these people to fit prophecy and ultimately have Esau, Edom, in a place where he can't escape. In World War III, buried under brimstone. Because as Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said it, it's going to happen that way. So from the book of Obadiah, verse 11, it says, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captives, his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. So even when the heathens, the Babylonians, and all these other heathens, when they had their time of rulership, and they went against us, Esau, Edom was there hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, forwarding our affliction, helping them out as opposed to us. So verse 12 says, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of thy people in the day of their calamity, yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Verse 14, neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape, neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So like right here, it's going into like a depiction. It's like this is referencing the time of when the Babylonians took the southern kingdom into captivity, and they ransacked the temple, and they destroyed the areas, and there had Esau, Edom, hand in hand, helping the enemy out, and as if like we were running away, they were catching the Israelites that were scattering and enslaving them. It's basically like I referenced, it's just this devil in the reincarnation. That same coworker or friend you had in high school, this was him in biblical times. So I'm going to continue on. Verse 15, it says, for the day of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. So the tables are going to turn. And all the wickedness, all the affliction that he put on us, I should say, we're going to render unto him double. All right, so I'm going to continue on. It says, it shall be done unto thee, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. It's going into captivity, and all the resources that you have, it's going to be property of Yasharallah for tributary. And if you don't adhere to that, or the mandates that we send out, then it's going to be heads rolling. There's going to be no rain in your area, if you catch my drift. But right here, I'm going to continue on. Verse 18, it says, and the house of Jacob shall be of fire, and the house of Joseph of flame, representing the two nations within the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom back together through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. And they're going to be a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai hath spoken it. And this is the prophecy right here. It's the message that we're preaching. And this right here should be good news. As Yahweh Shai, he's speaking these things through us, his sheep hear his voice. And they're going to be attentive to this message, because this resonates to the Hebrew Israelites of the hopeful elect. This message galvanizes us. This message is a beautiful, sweet song to us, knowing that this wicked devil who has been doing all these heinous things is going to get payback. And then ultimately, the best payback, being completely done away with. And within that process, he's going to be just bondage in chains, building the foundations of a society that he's not going to benefit from. And with that, I hope this video is edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rokakwadash, and Shalom Akim.